Mitakai racing. As I was saying, last time I told you what a foolish man would do to bring peace to this world. I explained what this foolish man would tell you so that you can experience that peace and in so doing help others to do the same. I mean, we need to bring peace to this space that we occupy. It all needs to make sense that we're here. We need to make sense. A foolish man. Well, to the world, perhaps. But you and I, we know better. We're no fools. And you know what? Neither was the man. He was on to something big. The biggest. Nurturing your soul and finding your purpose. That's a Sisyphean task. I've also told you that my son, my 18-year-old son, was shot 5 months ago. He lives. But it's put my family into profound despair. There's been a lot of touch and go, a lot of highs and lows. In fact, we just had another low on Easter, as he had to return unexpectedly to the hospital. And along the way, the help that he should have gotten, timely help, he did not. That's all right. It all worked out in the end, for now. But it's easy to despair again. And a few days ago, I did just that. I despaired. I did. There's this feeling you get when you despair. It's often described as a great weight, but it's more akin to a thick membrane, this gelatinous membrane that somehow you have to navigate through. It's all but impossible. Your skin grows wet and clammy and somehow dry, even desiccated simultaneously. Your thoughts retard. Your blood pressure drops. Even your sense of smell seems to deaden. And when that happens, well, I'm here to tell you that there's a way out. I've lived long enough to know that when this happens to me, I know it'll pass. It's not debilitating. I know that. I can wait it out. I can see the light of another day. I can feel the hope of another day. Nothing can keep me that stuck, that deep, that long. Not anymore. It can't disable me. And believe me, I have never been through anything as horrendous as this. And I know now, it can't keep me down. I have cultivated several methods, several strategies of helping others to come to that realization. I have roughly a dozen of them. And I can tell you that there are dozens more that others use. But for me, there are two strategies that are my personal go-to. And I will briefly touch upon them now. The first is the most fundamental element of living, of working and playing and loving and producing on this earth. It's what we all need to do to make it day to day, second to second. And it is the most rudimentary element of healing. Without this, there is no healing. Well, there's no living, actually. It is simply breathing. But maybe not so simply, for you see, this is purposeful breathing, and it should always be purposeful breathing, but very often we lack the purpose. I've heard it called diaphragmatic breathing. It's called belly breathing. It's called horizontal breathing. And I'm sure there are any number of people who have given this breathing technique their own label so they can make a few unearned bucks off of it. You know how when you breathe, your shoulders go up and your chest expands? Well, that's wrong. Not to put too fine a point on it, but you've been doing it wrong. And we all have, because I often forget, and I do it wrong again too. Diaphragmatic breathing is when your belly expands and contracts. If your shoulders are your gauge for breathing, then you're only getting breath into the upper part of your lungs. But if your belly is your gauge, your shoulders will move too, slightly. If your belly is your gauge, then you're getting the breath throughout your body. Listen, take a breath now. Close your eyes, take a single breath. Are you aware of what just happened? Your body shifted. Your head and your neck shifted. Maybe just the slightest amount, but what that means is your perspective shifted. When you get upset about something, all you can do is think about that thing. You got your blinders on, and that's the only thing in your focus. Nobody can take you off that focus. But when you breathe purposefully, then you reorient your own focus. You do that. You're also bringing life-giving oxygen into your lungs and into your heart and into your skin and your other organs. And we all know that the skin is the largest organ that we have. You bring oxygen into your brain and, yes, into your very soul. That life-giving oxygen gives you hope, allows you to see the potentials you can't see when you're fixed on the object of your anxiety. We don't need no high anxiety. Ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum. We don't. So you need to breathe. I once had a client call me at 3 in the morning, and she was like, Mark, and I was like, just calm down, just breathe. Yeah, but Mark, just breathe. And eventually she gets into a rhythm where she gives successive diaphragmatic breaths, right? In a rhythm, and she calms herself down. And this is basic. This is simple. It sounds simplistic, but it works. And she finally said, oh, Mark, thank you. Listen, you have a good night. And I'm like, wait, you just called me at 3 in the morning. Why? What did you want? What's going on? She said, don't worry about that. I'll tell you when I see you again. Yeah, it sounds simplistic, but it's solid gold. It works. Breathe, and better still, and I should know something about being still, hold one hand or even both over your heart as you do. Make sure that your body and your soul knows that as you breathe, you are healing your heart. Now, my other go-to is called contemplation, also known as contemplative prayer. Quite a few people get meditation and contemplation confused. Quite a few people conflate meditative prayer with contemplative prayer or contemplative prayer. I will never stop mispronouncing that word. Contemplative. Anyway, according to some faith traditions, there are 3 types of prayer. The first is vocal. That is speaking directly to God. Hey, yo, God, how you doing? Or, our Father, who art in heaven. So you speak to God either from the heart or from a scripted prayer. The second is meditative. And that's when you focus on something as you pray. It could be a tree. It could be your Uncle Jack. It could be COVID. Something, anything. The third is contemplative, which many faith traditions consider the highest form. It's focusing on nothing, or to say more accurately, there is no focus at all. There's no thought at all. Contemplation is simply being. I haven't the slightest idea how to teach you how to be. I can help calm you down. But teaching you how to be, I can tell you what it's like when you get there, and it is bliss. I was not taught how to be, but I was taught how to recognize it when I got there. You empty yourself and you just exist. Your heart will be filled with gratitude. You will realize that this moment that you are in, this exact moment, here now, cannot be any better than it is. There are many things that you have to do for your life to work out well, and there have been many things you haven't done well that you need to edit somehow. But this moment that you're in, as you do this exercise right here, right now with me, as you watch me on the video, you allow yourself to simply be. This is a perfect moment. Let it be, let it be. This is a perfect moment. So this is me briefly touching on these 2 strategies that will have you reconnect with the very fabric of the universe, that will have you reconnect with the very breath of God. Think on this. Put these strategies into motion in your life. And I'll see you next week. Peace. For fingers. Indeed. Be good to yourself.